everybody. Welcome to episode 11 of Lyrical Lessons for Life. I hope you guys are having a great Friday so far. We've got a really fun, not really fun, it's a good topic. Joanne, let's see here. There is Jo. She's coming right back in. For some reason, I think she got kicked out of our meeting. So let's see here. We're live here on YouTube as well as Facebook. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Christine. Hello. Oh, great. Well, happy Friday. So today we're talking about, hi, Joe. There we go.
Hi, I'm back.
So today we're talking about my song "I Go Back," which is a blues song. And I'm really excited about this topic. We decided on the topic of let go of the past to embrace the present.
Indeed, we did. So, boy, I tell you, there's so much wrapped up in this idea of letting go of the past to embrace the present and living in the present moment. But Kelsey, I'm really curious, where were you? What state of mind were you in, and what was going on when you wrote this song?
I love this question. Okay, so I remember very specifically when I wrote this song, and I was actually in my I was having a slow morning. I was in my bedroom and I was sitting down and I was just ruminating. Had ruminating thoughts about a previous, like a past relationship. And I couldn't stop. I kept thinking about it. And I remember thinking to myself that I knew it wasn't good for me to go back, but at the same time, I couldn't move forward. Okay. And so, as you are all aware, I write songs to figure things out. And in this case, this song was literally me in that moment of just nonstop thinking about this. And I felt that, and this is what's in the song, it says, I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. If I go back to that relationship, I know it's not good for me. But I, for some reason, cannot, and I couldn't. In my head, I had decided I couldn't move forward. And I allowed myself to have those thoughts and to ruminate about the past and the memories and to be sitting there in that moment. And so I tried to then go make coffee or try to do something else, and it would just keep coming back. It would just keep coming back. So I sat down and I wrote the song, I Go Back. And I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. If I could just forget you, but I know that I won't. And later in the song, what I really love is if I could just forget you, it says, hold on. It's hard for me to
Have your lyrics memorized?
well, unless I have my guitar. And so if I could just forget you, but then I wouldn't be the same. It's a part of you. Every memory, I knew that the memories I had were part of me and very important. And I wrote the song to give myself a little timestamp of when it was just circling and circling and circling. And this song, I did not come to a resolution. I didn't decide, oh, now I'm going to move on. There are some times in our lives, and in that moment I was there, where I didn't blame myself for not getting over it. I was just recognizing what was going on. I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. This is just where I'm at in this little circle that keeps going. And so, I kept going back to that memory, and I wonder if anyone else has felt that way. And I think I would love to talk about this idea of ruminating thoughts, and that they aren't necessarily bad, in my opinion. And I think that's what we're going to do first. And then later on in the conversation, we can talk about, okay, now that you've allowed yourself to have those ruminating thoughts, now how do you take that and utilize it?
Right. Right. Well, what I love too, not just how you wrote that, damned if I do and damned if I don't. If I could just forgive you, but I know that I won't, so I go back. And then you say, it was only one moment. Time cannot seem to fade. And I love that, because it's in those one moments that sit so deeply with us. And we have this need, an inherent need for certainty. And it's a survival need. Like, we need the certainty and we need it for survival. So when you're stuck there, that's what comes through, is that need for certainty, even if it was negative, even if it wasn't something that serves you in the long run, you knew what it meant then in the past. And that's why we keep going back to it, conceptually, why we keep going back to it.
Oh, I love that. And in the song, it's almost, and I know my feelings at the time, I was like, well, I know it's not good for me. Why is my brain even wasting any time on this thing? But there is some certainty of once you are thinking about it over and over and you really gain some clarity on it, then it's funny, you're gaining clarity on something that isn't good for you, but the fact you gain clarity is good for you.
Right. Right. Yes. And I love the word ruminating. And I've most recently really just accepted the fact that we can have ruminating thoughts in the fielded life methodology, which is something that I teach and facilitate with my clients, and I incorporate it into what we do. We consider that to be a red zone thought. It's actually, the red zone is a stress response. We live there, we ruminate over things, and it doesn't allow us to be in the present moment because we're stuck there. But when we're stuck there, we're also constricted and constricting what could be, what is possible for the future, because we're stuck in the past. So there's no present in that. Then I really think there's a purpose to ruminating thoughts when you can do that from a place of introspection and start to align what that moment really means, not necessarily for survival anymore, like what you go back to, but for the opportunity to thrive. So that's, when you're there and you're going back to it, you're actually searching without even realizing it. You're searching for the reason that the memory won't fade. Like, what is it about that thing? And then once you can align what that is, it can start to fade. But that's, the song allows you permission.
I like it.
Stay there.
I love that. And essentially, I love the word permission here, and that giving ourselves permission to, yeah. I think that's probably the hardest thing, is when your brain keeps going back to something and you go, why can't I just move forward? And then you put extra pressure on yourself instead of extra permission to say, well, there's obviously something here I'm gaining clarity on. So I'm just going to sit here, and it's okay.
It's okay.
And it is okay.
And we often, and tell me if this is how it kind of felt, like there's a sense of judgment that you're stuck there. And then there's a sense of shame, like all the things start to pile on until you give yourself the permission to be okay with where you're at. And once you do that, you can actually crawl out of the past and sit in the present with that permission.
Absolutely. There was total judgment. And you can see it in the lyrics, because I am trying to figure out through the lyrics, like, can I just forget this thing ever happened? And then I'm like, but then I wouldn't be the same person, because it made, it affected me. And it's this person struggling in the song, trying to figure out how to stop ruminating, having these ruminating thoughts about this thing.
Right.
And trying to figure out how to get through it, when actually, I love this. So I'm trying to forget this memory or this person or whatever, right? And it obviously was powerful and stuck with me. And it's funny because I'm way past that right now. When I wrote the song, this isn't a very Like it's not like it's yesterday or something. But at the moment, in the moment, I think I was judging myself for not being able to just move forward because I knew it wasn't good for me, but there was something else to gain clarity about. And in fact, now I can say now that I do much better with when I have these thoughts that continue to circle. I use it as a way for me to recognize, oh, this is something that needs my attention or needs a little care right now.
Yes.
Because if I had it figured out, I wouldn't be circling through it. And so if a topic keeps coming up, I'm really working on making sure I'm not saying, well, you should just
Yep.
judge yourself, right?
Don't judge yourself. That's right.
Instead, I use it as an opportunity to say, oh, there's something there that I haven't figured out yet.
Right.
And by changing how we talk to ourselves through those moments, gives us permission to be thinking about them. And the idea of ruminating thoughts has that negative connotation. But like you said, yes, it's a stress response, but it could be useful.
Right. They are always useful. They're always useful when we get to the point of the awareness that it's there. Yeah. Right. And that's the thing, is that once you have the awareness that it's there, and I love what you said about, what happens though, is when we get stuck there, we give that past a life that it really doesn't exist. And so what you just described is what I call connecting dots. So that's why I say I'm a dot connector, right? Because we connect the dots of our past experience to our present action. And when we do that, we can free and let go of the past. So you just described that whole connecting dots piece to the puzzle. But I really believe that giving the past a life by continuing to ruminate over it doesn't allow us to connect the dot to the present moment because we're stuck there. So, there's this fine line of how to use it to move forward versus stay in the past.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And Charlotte in the comments just connected another one of my songs, Beautiful Mistake, into this. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Not moving on is a beautiful mistake that's yours to make, winky face. I love that.
Yep.
I love that so much. My beautiful mistake. If you guys missed that, whoever's listening right now, we do have other episodes that all of them involve music. And it's really interesting to actually be able to talk through it as well.
Yes.
Really interesting.
Yes. And actually it's fun because Charlotte, there was something that was said in that episode, and I don't remember exactly what it is, that aligns directly to this conversation. And I've been trying to stay present in the moment and not go backwards to try and figure out what that was. But there is something connecting the two. So I love that you called that out. And Kelsey and I realized that this conversation follows last week's conversation about having courage so beautifully, because it absolutely takes courage to move away from the ruminating past, because even if the past has its purpose, even if it was negative, but it takes courage to step away from that and look at the present moment as the place to be. So our conversation around courage last week also fits so beautifully.
I really want to highlight what you just said, and it's words that I think something everyone can just put in their pocket. The past has a purpose. Past has a purpose. And the more that I accept that and then embrace that, the better everything becomes. It just becomes a little easier. There really are no major, there's no mistake that, that is in my past that has been, so terrible. But in the moment, sometimes I just have these ruminating thoughts about it.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and
it has a purpose.
It does. And when you get to that point of really understanding at the core that every experience has its purpose, you give yourself grace. Like, give yourself grace all along the way. Every moment that comes up, as Isabel Tierney, founder of, creator of Feel Good Life, says, new moment, fresh moment. Every moment that comes up is an opportunity to give yourself grace, even if it's a moment when you're ruminating in the past.
Yes. I love that. I love that. So, okay. So this song, I Go Back, it's just sitting. It's just sitting in the muck. It's a blues song, and I just wanted to sit in the past. And sometimes I do. And and I know damn well it's not going to get me anywhere, but sometimes my brain does. And so one of the things that then we chatted about is how if you are living in the past, if your brain is thinking of anything in the past, you literally are not in the present.
Wait, before you go further with that, because you're right. Something you just said was super profound, that we have emotional habits. So over our lifetime, we create emotional habits, and they're based on limiting beliefs. They're based on our experiences, but there's emotional habits that align us to what you just said, which is sometimes I just want to sit there. Sometimes I just want to sit in the muck. And that's an emotional habit. And it's okay to have that emotional habit as long as you don't get stuck there. Sit in the muck. You have to sit in the muck in order to rise. Like, look at the lotus flower, right? The lotus, it rises out of the muck. So sit in the muck as an emotional habit. But as we grow and heal and shift, we create emotional agility to be able to flow, let the emotion flow. So we talked about flowing emotions, the flow like the river, right?
I love that. Again, thank you for giving me permission as a songwriter to sit in the muck. But it's not just songwriters, it's everyone. It's all of
Everybody.
us.
Right.
I love that. And, that's an interesting thing, because the more we get to learn about how we deal with things emotionally, it almost makes it easier to then communicate to people nearby us. Like, hey, this is just how I work through things. And I think about really close friends I have. And as I learn about their emotional habit, oh, you're going to explode. What did I say?
I just got goosebumps. I don't know. Keep going.
Oh, and when I think about friends that I've really connected with, something that you just put it together for me, is that this emotional habit that they have, when I learn about theirs, then I can respect that, and then I can help them when they're going through it, maybe push them into that emotional habit, because the faster they go there, the faster then they get out. And when you really are close with someone, you learn about that, and you learn about what works for them, so you can support them going into whatever they need to in order to get through.
Yes. Oh, there's so much love that goes into what you just described. And it's self-love, right? It's the idea that when we learn to manage our emotions, it's just the best form of self-love there is, because we allow ourselves, we trust ourselves to respond to life the way that is needed for us in those moments. Whether that is sitting in the muck for a half an hour. I mean, don't sit in the muck for a week, right? That's likely not the right length of time. Maybe sit with it for a half hour or an hour, whatever. But we allow and we trust ourselves to move through. We're connected to ourselves differently. And then we can be connected to our people and be open to watching someone else need to sit in the muck. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. That's actually that concept of an emotional habit is very strong. It's a very powerful awareness, because if you're aware of what typically works, and that works for me, I will just think over and over. In fact, my friends know that if I'm talking about the same thing a lot, they let me. They let me because they know eventually the moment that I figure it out and step out of that, then I stop talking about it. But but I'll have to replay it, and and it's, I'm getting faster at it because once I recognize if
Right.
I'm ruminating these ruminating thoughts about something, then I recognize, okay, I need to figure something out here.
Yes, that's the agility piece to it. That's the evolution of the emotional states of being, right? We go from habit, from what was created for us through life and experiences and other people's beliefs, to owning it ourselves and creating the emotional agility. And yeah, it's a really great place to be. But um, yeah, the past has a purpose and it's flipping okay.
Passes the purpose and
And it's
it's
flipping okay.
flipping okay. We'd love to know in the chat what this is bringing up for you, as far as if you've had a situation where you realize you really needed to let go of something in the past, and what that looked like for you. So as you guys are commenting here, maybe we can talk about what we talked about before, right before this call. You brought up how and I called it cherry picking. You were cherry picking memories and like using them. You were
Yeah.
like, I'm going to utilize this memory, even though it wasn't great, and I'm going to grow something from it. Right?
Right. Well, and you said it earlier, Kelsey, and that is that the memories that come back to us, the memories that stick with us. The Someone said something to you one day and it all of a sudden pops back into your world. That happens for a reason. It happens because it's connected to something that needs to be addressed. Period. And when we compartmentalize that, when we shove it back in the box, it's going to creep its way back out one day for you to address it. So the awareness of why it's coming up may not be readily available, but when you give it a chance, maybe ruminate, maybe go, wait a sec, why now? Why, with whatever happened in my current moment, did this come up? What's it connected to? And what does it mean for my future? You know, that's a great moment in time to really investigate it and open it and let it be out of the box.
Let it be out of the box. I like that. I like that. And Lisa also commented on this awareness idea.
Yes. And then Inga, did you see what Inga just said? I feel like the chat might be a smidge delayed, but Inga just said, my friends gave me a t-shirt that says, hold on, let me overthink this.
I love
Oh,
that.
I tell you, anytime I have never been an overthinker. And never say never, never say always, because about 5 years ago, I don't think I became an overthinker. I became a dot connector thinker because things started to hit me, just like you said, like, shit, why is that in front of me right now? What the heck does that have to do with what I'm going through? And then I'd figure it out. I'm like, oh, okay. Don't take that into the future, right? Or take that into the future, sister. Right? But yeah, overthinking. It's too funny.
I love that. I love that.
Also very red zone, by the way, in that sense.
Yes.
Because we're in our minds then, right? We're in our minds. And like Charlotte said, we got to get into our head and heart, move out of our head and into our heart and into our body.
Yes. Yeah. So when we have these ruminating thoughts and we have our t-shirt on that says, hold on, let me overthink this. And we allow and give ourselves permission to overthink it. And then we gain some clarity. And the clarity, I think, is not necessarily an action that we have to do about it. It's just simply understanding the situation. And like Lisa said, awareness. Once we have awareness, that's usually when I stop overthinking. And so I can take my hold on, let me overthink this shirt off. and then we move into this embracing the present and really this is the part that I think can make or break past things. We can either become kind of like a victim to the bad thing or whatever, or we can use it in whatever way we'd like, and knowing we have power and control over how we want to view those past things. I think you probably have a lot to say on this topic here.
Living in the present moment.
Living living in the present. And then how do we cherry pick these things? And how do we then, it's not just awareness, now it's trying to see it through a different lens, maybe from the present, or what are your thoughts on that?
Are cracking me up that you just said lens. So for some reason, the Feel Good Life methodology is coming up a lot today. And that is because when we move, we call it green zone, yellow zone, red zone. But when we move from red into green, that is when we're present. We're connected to ourselves. We're open to receiving the message that is sitting inside of the past memory or the current moment. So we are open to embracing what's right in front of us. And we call it the lens. We call it the red lens of the past and stress and, over and critical thinking, or the green zone lens of a very different view that includes love, peace, joy, calm, all the things that keep us connected to the present moment. So it's really funny that you said lens.
I love what you just said. Now I'm connecting it maybe differently. And the way that I'm viewing it, and I don't know if it's I'm an overthinker, and I love Inga's shirt, and I want one of those shirts. But this idea of gaining clarity from, and Lisa, when you're overthinking, I need to do that. That's my emotional habit, to gain clarity. It's super important for me then to gain something like with you talking about the green zone lens. I have to be in the red zone in order for me to learn something. And I say the word have to because that's when I come up with that's once I gain clarity about a situation, now I'm not in the red zone with it. I'm not overthinking it. Lisa, I'm not overthinking. and it's swirling down the drain, which is what it feels like. I go back every time. That's not happening. I'm out of that. And then I like that you said the words that now you can accept kind of what you've learned from that. And you're just trusting that the moment that you gain clarity, you have learned something because you're not ruminating about that anymore. And so, but you can't accept that message until you get out of that drain,
That's correct. Absolutely. Yeah. There's really, put a period on that. And, it is absolutely one of the things to call out is that when we're in those moments, like let's say the past is actually the present and you're going through the thing and it's hard and it's icky and it's awful. That is not the time to try and figure out what the hell is going on. But when you move out of the past and you're in a moment where it comes back to you, that's the perfect moment to gain clarity because you can look at it more objectively. So the ruminating of the thought will take you back there if you give it a life, but the ability to see it with clarity and objectively is, when you're out of it, the opportunity to then bring it into the green zone, bring it into the awareness of I've got this thing and now I'm going to accept it for what it is and be able to move it so that I can look to the future, either leaving it behind or shifting it and bringing it with me. So, yeah.
I love what you just said. And that makes me want to highlight something you said about the idea that when we're in that, when we're in that circling kind of overthinking part, even right then isn't the moment to learn the end result of what's going to happen. The only thing we can really do is just allow ourselves to gain some clarity about the past, because we can't now decide what we're going to take into the future because we need to just gain clarity about the past first.
That's
And
very
I
cool.
think I've struggled with that sometimes because when I'm I go back every time, and I'm like, well, I just need to figure out the end game here. I just need to figure out what I'm going to take with me in the future. And it's nearly impossible
You're
because you
right.
have to gain clarity about what happened in the past
Yeah.
and then now shift into not circling down the drain. And then now you can accept what you've learned from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Kelsey, what you just called out is perfect because when we're in the past and when we're future thinking, the only thing not in either one of those things is the present moment, right?
We're not
So,
even here. It's
no,
just
we're not even there. It's like, okay, we're in the past. Okay, we're thinking about what the future is, and we've left the present out completely. And living in the present moment is what we're really trying to do every day, right?
mhm.
Because that's where we exist in our most connected state of being in the present moment. So that's why when we were talking about this and trying to we're letting go of the past to embrace the present.
Yes. Oh, I
And
love that. And
future
we're not
comes, but
skipping. And we're not skipping a step. We're
no,
not
right,
going, we're gonna let go of the past so we can embrace the future. No, we're just trying to live.
right.
Get out of the drain and understand why that drain in the water is going down and
Right.
circling so you can live in the present. And now once you gain clarity, you're in the present and now you can accept what's going to come to you from all of your hold on, let me overthink this moment.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why the importance of understanding your emotional habits,
Mm.
as they're called really, is is a it's an imperative for you to move forward. Because otherwise you get stuck in that subconscious crap. Like, yeah, okay, here I am again, I'm ruminating. But if you understand that that's what comes out of that is like an emotional habit, and now I'm going to let it flow through me. I'm feeling it differently. I can let it flow through me like the riverbed. I have the courage to see it for what it is. I'm not going to constrict it anymore. I'm going to let it flow. That's the emotional agility piece that really then anchors you into the present moment. You can really embrace it then. And thank you, Keith, by the way.
Thank you, Keith. I love that.
There you go.
I really love that. You've essentially just decided to take away that negative connotation with whatever emotional habit someone has, and then by treating it as, oh, this is just it's a practice that you are going to go through, and it will help you get to the clarity and awareness you need.
Oh, yes. And then he goes and throws in one of his favorite lines and from Landslide, which we chatted about Landslide and handling the seasons of my life.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just truly a matter of full on awareness. And
And each stage is different.
each stage is so different. And, giving yourself the grace in any of those moments is so powerful. And and to call it out there, Kelsey, when we first started to have a conversation about the song, I jumped, right? I'm like, oh yeah, okay, but then. And you're like, hold up, Joe, I want to be here. Let me be here, sister. Let me be
That's
here.
my favorite. But that is what you're so good about. You're like, okay, let's talk about how we take the past and we embrace the future. And I was like, whoa, this song is totally someone sitting crying on a couch with their guitar about how they can't get over this and that just keeps coming back. There is no resolution to the song, Joe.
That when you said that, I loved that you said that. There's no resolution to the song. And then I do believe you said, I'm going to write that song though.
I
Is
am.
that what you said?
Yeah, I am. I said I'm going to write the next step. So someone's sitting there with the ruminating thoughts, and then what's the next song? What's the next song of when they start to they've gained clarity, and when they're now living in the present, and what does that sound like? What does that feel like when they
Oh,
do? And what does that, yeah. And I don't have anything that's there right now. So I'm excited to explore that topic. So
oh, and I love how there's so much trust in self that goes along with the allowing of letting things flow and trusting yourself to know yourself. We go back to the very first song that we started this whole project with, right? Which is Horizon and finding your truth. And Kelsey, we've been building, and it's just been an organic build of what has been happening here in this conversation. But to trust yourself in the moment that the thoughts are coming in and recognize that they're there for a reason, let them flow, figure it out, and live in that present moment.
oh
It's
my
just so
God.
beautiful.
I just got chills because what we're talking about as a group, we've collectively gotten here, I think, too, and connecting it as well. So, what you just said is that essentially what we're talking about in this topic today literally cannot happen unless you trust yourself. You in order for you to allow yourself to sit in your emotional habit, and in this case in the song I Go Back, it's these ruminating thoughts, and give yourself grace to sit there and allow yourself to gain clarity of the past. All of those things are built upon trusting yourself. And in moments when we don't know the answers, you trust that, well, I'm not supposed to. I got to I'm just trying to figure out the past. And again, all built upon trusting yourself. And then it allows a lot of other things to flow, like you're talking about flowing.
It does.
Wow. Did anyone else have a light bulb moment? I just had a light bulb moment of the connection with all of this.
Yeah, and the part about trusting yourself, and it can be pretty hard because for a long time someone else has probably told you how to think. Someone
Yeah.
else has probably told you how to do things and what is your truth and how to trust that. And cracking the code of breaking free of that is really really important, and trusting that movement. Yeah. So
Wow. I love the end, how the end tied everything in. And so essentially we've just talked about ways to, when you're in a certain moment, let's say you're in that red zone that you've talked about, ruminating thoughts, if it's really not, there's no awareness and clarity that's coming, it could be something further down, more
right.
fundamental, that you have to keep searching down into in order to move to the next step.
Layers. There's
And
layers.
yeah. Yes. And that's a really powerful thing to know and think about because every situation we come up with, they're going to be different, but there might be a time when you have to go, oh, wait, I got more things deeper that are a little off balance
Yes.
because normally I would move through this way because I'm aware of my emotional habit. So now I need to go back and kind of get a little more
Oh,
situated.
yeah. I tell you what, I saw a quote yesterday, and I won't get it exactly right, but it's about triggers. And, a ruminating thought could essentially be a trigger. And it could be that something is happening for you in the present moment that triggers this thought to come back, which can trigger a reaction if we're not aware of what's going on. And I mean, it will continue to happen to us because we have human experiences. But what you just talked about is that we are triggered so that something can be figured out. And it just is allows us to go deeper. The layers and the going deeper. I mean, heck, we carry around 7 generations of ancestral crap with us. Of course, we're going to go deeper, and then all the other stuff too. So yeah, you're so right in that statement. Layers.
I love what we're doing right now.
Do we say it all the time? We do, don't we?
I love this. And Inga just got goosebumps. I love it. And Charlotte says, try rumination to the process of fully digesting the past is so appropriate.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep. Digesting. Very green zone.
And again, I've had people around me that are like, well, just get over it, you know and I know the intent behind that.
Right.
And that's why I actually really enjoyed that idea about, I didn't really even think about it, this emotional habit, and learning the people that you care about, what are their emotional habits, because there's ways to use them, and to digest the past, as Charlotte said, in a healthy way. And just because it's not your emotional habit doesn't mean it still can't be useful and healthy to
Right.
use,
Right.
right?
Yeah. And it helps us get each other's
Wow.
work.
Today's topic. Yes.
Know it.
I love
So
this. This was
should we, I think I mean, we are close to complete. Otherwise, we're going to start having a conversation about what comes next as we continue to embrace the present to, move into the future. But can I read this quote that I
Please.
found?
Yes.
Now a good time. So I found this quote and it just was like a slap in the face, because it really culminates what we're talking about and the ability to move forward. You can't start the next chapter of your life if you keep rereading the last one.
You can't start the next chapter of your life if you keep rereading the last one.
That's right. Yep.
I love that. Yeah. There is no way to do that. Yeah. Unless you're really good at multitasking, which I know all of you are, but you're not that good. There's no way. If you could do that, then wow. You know, I love that quote. I love that quote.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I
And it
talk
doesn't
about,
have a name, so it's an anonymous quote that I just found. No name.
I love that. Yeah. So, do you want to? I think we may have brought up, or I think we'll wrap up our conversation. We do need to talk about what we're going to talk about next week. We're focused on the present. We won't talk about the future. And there is something that we're doing, which is really exciting. We're doing like a little workbook, right? A little journal, a harmony journal. And we just started working on it. And so we might be reaching out to some of you to kind of look at some of what we're putting together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have them. I mean, I know there's a few people with us. Maybe if you're interested in looking at this harmony journal and taking a stab at working with it with us and giving us your feedback, maybe raise your hand or put a heart out there or something so we see.
Yeah. Or
We'll
say,
send it out to you.
yeah, I want the journal, or I want harmony.
Hey, harmony.
Yay, harmony. Yeah. So it'd be like, it's a way for you to keep and collect your thoughts. I mean, I write down what we've talked about, and it's really actually the act of writing things down through these episodes, or as you listen to music, I think actually sits it further down into your soul a little more than just consuming by listening and watching. Christine's like, yes. Okay, cool.
Oh,
And
hey,
so
Christine.
I'm definitely going to be sharing this with everyone on my Patreon who's supporting me there, on Patreon. So we'll do that, and then we have a first draft. We're working on it. So we're gonna get some feedback from you guys.
Yay.
That would be very cool. And the goal then would be to be ahead a week, so that way you would have the Harmony Journal pages before we do our live recording of the podcast, which we're also working on, putting this in podcast form so that you guys can go back and listen as well. So
Yeah, we've got lots of little irons in the fire.
harmony,
So.
yes. Yeah, my favorite part of the Harmony Journal is on the bottom of the second page. There's a little thing.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
Says staying in tune, and you essentially assess how in tune you were this past week. So you go through the journal, the 2 pages, and then the next week when you come back on Friday for our right before the next episode that we chat about, you go back and you kind of assess how that last week went. Were you in tune? Were you out of tune? Were you in the wrong key? So it's a way for us to stay accountable to ourselves.
Yes, it was I have to say that when Kelsey and I get together, so as we've mentioned, these conversations are very organic. We don't really plan anything. We just let it flow. And when we get together and brainstorm, it's so fun because Kelsey's musical mind takes over and she interjects these little musical terms into the things that we're trying to track or target. And it's so much fun to go there because my brain doesn't automatically go there like yours does, Kelsey. So it's just, yeah, you guys, hopefully you'll love it as much as we do. And I knew Lisa was going to go find that quote. I knew she was. I just had this feeling if something is triggered, then something needs to be healed. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys let us, we'll figure out soon, maybe
Yeah, we'll
even this
figure it.
week.
Yeah, maybe even this week before we just gotta get in front of some stuff. But so
Monday.
yeah, we're working at Monday. So, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for episode 11.
11, magic number 11. Whoop, whoop.
Episode 11 of Lyrical Lessons for Life. And today we talked about let go of the past to embrace the present. And we talked about my song, I Go Back, a blues song that really hits on this idea of overthinking and ruminating thoughts and how you're just right there in that moment. And today we talked about gaining clarity and how to actually embrace those ruminating thoughts, those emotional habits we have.
Letting them flow. Absolutely.
All right, Joe, this was fantastic.
It was. Thanks, Kelsey. Thanks, everybody, for your
Thank
participation.
you, everyone. We
Yep.
love you all. Yeah. All
All
right.
right.
Have a great rest of your Friday, everybody.
Take care, you guys. Love and light.